Hey guys, welcome back to Life with 18 Cats. How you guys doing? So this is gonna be this is gonna be a little bit different. As most of you know, we are going to be I'm gonna be sharing my story with you guys. But let me start out by saying hi. My name is Kim, and I'm a recovering addict. I'm going to assume that all of you said hi, Kim, because that's what you do. So welcome everyone. Thank you guys so much for being here and being so supportive, because this is a really important one for me. As I said previously, I haven't shared my story in quite a few years. Certainly not since I moved to Missouri. So it's been, I was trying to think of it last night, and I think it's probably been over 4 years since the last time I shared my story. But I need to do that because like I said previously, it's one of those things where you can't keep something if you don't give it away. And my sobriety is very important to me. And in order to keep that, you need to give it away to other people. In recovery, they say that you share your experience, strength, and hope with others, that they may find recovery as well. So that's what I'm doing. And the way we do that is we share our story, how it was, what happened, and what it was like, what happened, and what we're like now. So we're going to try to stick with that format. Jenna.
Oh, hey, Kim.
Hi, Jenna. How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. There's a lot of people here checking in with us. If you want me to run through and say hi to everybody.
Yes, please. Let's say hi to everybody. Cami, hi all. I'm scooping litter boxes while waiting. Oh, Cami, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you. And Nunya became a YouTube member. Thank you so much, Nunya. That means so much to me. I appreciate that so much. Yes, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Gertrude, hi everyone. Hi Gertrude, how are you doing, hon? Glad you're here. Catitude, hey guys. Hey Catitude. And Deborah, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Deborah. So glad you're here. Thank you for being here with us. Mary Miles, hello all. Hi Mary, how you doing? No, Tear Tot. I got Tear Tot in my lap. She just wants attention. And Joanna, hello. It's a beautiful day today. You know what, Joanna? You're right. It is a beautiful day today. It is beautiful outside here as well. So I'm grateful for that. Hope you're doing good. Mark, well, good afternoon to all. And usually I would come in after I love our Catitude. You guys crack me up. Dave, hi Dave. I've known you for a long time and I'm very proud of everything you've overcome and everything that you've accomplished. Oh my God, you're gonna make me cry before I even get into my story, Dave. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here and your support is so appreciated. Ken, hi Ken. Hello, how are you doing? Nunya says hi with little pink hands. I love the little pink hands. They're so cute. Joanna, hi Kim. Joanna, you're so adorable. Hi Kim, hi Mark. Good morning, Kat. How are you doing? I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Thank you for being so supportive and joining us. Ruby Dawn, that lovely makeup is going to run. You know what? I'm going to tell you a secret. It's fake eyelashes. They can't run. I shouldn't give away all my secrets, but listen, I knew that this was going to be an emotional one. So I was like, do I really want to go through all that? No, but I've got a solution to that. Something that doesn't run. So that's what we did. So it's like cheater garlic, cheater lashes. How's that? There you go, Catitude. I got cheater lashes too. So how about that?
Well, it looks lovely either way, cheater or real.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I figured I was going to do this as appropriately as possible. If I was going to go and speak at a meeting or anywhere else, I would obviously, do myself up, be presentable, and it's no different here. I want to respect my story, and so therefore I feel like I should do it in a way that was, presentable. So that's what I'm doing. I mean, I could have just thrown on some sweats and y'all wouldn't know the difference, but I'm not wearing sweats. And I've got kitties all around me. So yeah, okay. So I'm just looking through chat real quick. Thanks for the update, Ken. Oh yeah, Ken. Ollie's at the shelter now, and they said I can call him. Okay, that's right. You're gonna call tomorrow. Okay, good. Okay, so we'll look for that. Like I said before, Ken, just email me, and I would be more than happy to, because we don't have like a live stream on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but we'll post something and let everybody know the update if it's anything that really needs to be updated. So, so I was just telling Jenna, that this is I wasn't nervous about doing this because I'm not nervous about sharing my story. Like I said, I'm not ashamed of my story. I'm not concerned about that. But there is a lady in my life. Her name is Judy Hansen. And when I was 16 years old, she was one of the administrators at the school I went to. And she was a very important person in my life at that time and has continued to be a very important person up until currently. She saw a post I put on Facebook about me doing my story and she showed some interest. And so either she is going to be watching this live or she is going to watch this and replay it with sometime when I share it to her afterwards if she didn't catch it live. And so I want to make her proud because this woman has stood by me. She's been my rock. She's been a inspiration. She's been a role model. She's been a mom. She has been so many things. In fact, she was the last person I went out and had lunch with before I moved from Minnesota and away from everything I knew. So she is a very, very important lady in my life, someone I very much respect and admire and hope that I can at least somehow live up to, what she hoped for me in my life. And so it's not that it puts pressure on me. It's just, I really want to make her proud. So I've just got that in the back of my head. So if I'm a little nervous, it's because I just want to make her proud. I really do. And I know that there's nothing I could do that would make her, upset with me or anything. She's one of those people that's just, she's an amazing woman and she is a powerhouse in life. And I love her to death. And so Judy, if you're watching, I just want to tell you that I love you and thank you for everything you've ever done for me, because if it wasn't for you and your influence in my life, I literally would not have made it to where I am, because your faith in me and your belief in me all these years, no matter what I've ever done wrong, has meant the world. So thank you, Judy. I love you. So that out of the way. All right, now, and I'm already going to cry just talking about Judy. See how this is going to go? This is going to be we're just going to set the stage like this.
Kim, I'm not surprised you're starting off crying.
I know.
It's out of the way now. You're done. Let's go. All right.
I've never been so emotional with my story. I think because of how far I've come now. This is the farthest I've ever come in my life. So it's like, it's a lot now. It's a lot to like realize that you've done. I trust she is already proud of you. And Nunya, you know what? She is. And that's what makes her amazing. She has been proud of me no matter what. Even in my worst days, she's been proud of me and she has had faith in me and she has had hope in me. And I always thought that was like misplaced, faith, but apparently it wasn't. I was capable of everything she always believed I was capable of. And yeah, here I am. So anyways, all right. So I did make a little outline on my phone. So if I'm looking down at all, I'm just looking down to make sure that I'm hitting everything, because there's a lot to go to. So like I said, the format we usually use is what it was like, what happened, and what we're like now. That's the format if you're just telling your recovery story. I'm kind of telling my whole story, because why not? Let's just put it on the table, and that way you guys can get a better understanding of where I've been, where I've come from, not just in the recovery process, but just in my life in general. So, yeah. So let's start out with school. Let's just go back to school. I grew up in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. I was never a real good student. I was that student that got C grades, and some of you might relate to this. But whenever there was parent teacher conferences, which I don't even think they have anymore, but when those came around, I was always the one that had the comment, "She doesn't live up to her potential." That was what my teachers always said about me. So it was like C's and D's, and that was it. Yes, I was capable of more, but I just never lived up to it, and they were right. I never did. I was actually expelled from school in 10th grade. 10th grade? Yeah, 10th grade. And I was expelled because I had skipped so many hours of school that they had no choice but to expel me. So they expelled me. And that was from a public school. I ended up going back to school for 11th grade to a school, and that's where I met Judy. It was a private school with a lot smaller grouping of kids, more intimate setting, more one-on-one interaction with the teachers. And I actually ended up graduating with a 4.0. Now, what makes that even more amazing is that I actually got pregnant with my daughter right before senior year started. I did. I actually was pregnant at 17. And I turned 18. I got pregnant right before senior year started when I was 17. I turned 18 in November, and then I had my daughter in April of 1994, 2 months before graduation, and I still graduated with a 4.0. So I did really well in the end. I came back from a lot, and I did really, really well. And that was when, her dad and I were together. We were together for like 4 years. We eventually obviously split up, and I moved out of my parents' house for the first time when I was 21. Bad time to move out of your parents' house for the first time. So yeah, I moved out of my parents' house for the first time when I was 21, and I was with actually my son's dad at the time. And of course, we were young and we were dumb, and we made a lot of dumb choices, and we all know that. You guys know that. And that was when I first started doing drugs. And that was something that just took hold immediately. There was not anything, there was no question, there was no gradual working into it. It was just something that just immediately was what I want, it's what I'd been looking for. The relationship between my parents and I had, well, my mom and my stepdad at least. My mom and dad separated and divorced when I was a year old. My dad married a wonderful woman who is my stepmom, and they have 2 beautiful boys. My mom eventually remarried, and she had 2 boys of her own with him as well. So I'm actually the only product of my mother and my father. I have 4 brothers. They're all grown now, all adults, all with families of their own. So that's that. But I've always been looking for something, and I think it's because there was a very tumultuous relationship between me and my father. And at the time, I blamed him for everything. Now, this is one of those retrospect kind of things where I can look back at it now and I have a little bit better understanding. I hated him for a long, long time and refused to talk to him and refused this. We kind of went back and forth, had a relationship, then we get into a fight, didn't have a relationship. Looking back now as an adult and with a clear mind, I realized that my dad and I can't have a relationship because we are exactly alike. I had to come to terms with that because I caught myself saying things to my daughter at times that as I said them out loud, I was like, oh my God, these are the things that my father said to me that made me so incredibly mad at him. What is going on? Why am I saying these things? But as a parent, I started to understand why he had said those things, where he was coming from, and realizing the impact of those things and what he was trying to get through to me. And I hated him for so long for that. But now, sitting here now, I can look back and say, you know what? I respect my father for what he did and how he is and who he is as a person. Can him and I ever have a relationship? Probably not, because we are just so much alike. And unfortunately, one of those things that we're really alike in is we're very strong-willed and very stubborn, very hard-headed. So that relationship just probably can never exist. We can exist from afar. I can respect him as a father and as a person, which I do. I have let go of all of the ill feelings I've had for him in the past, and hopefully he's been able to do the same for me. And so that's a relationship that at the time, though, the drugs and everything kind of were giving me something. I found something in drugs that I couldn't find anywhere else, and that was an escape from the reality, an escape from the bad feelings, from the feelings of inadequacy. Because here's me, I grew up in a house where I was like the lone wolf. My mom was there with her 2 boys and her husband. My dad had his wife and their 2 boys. And there I was, I really didn't belong anywhere. So that was kind of how I grew up. Nobody's fault that was the case. It's just how things happened. And I get that. But when you're a kid, you don't understand how to process those emotions and those feelings of, not belonging anywhere, especially when your own family. So yeah. So when I found drugs were just the be all end all to me. It was what I needed, what I wanted. So, my son, like I said, my daughter's dad and I, we were never married. We dated for about 4 years, separated shortly after my 21st birthday. And, I ended up with my son's dad. My son was born in the year 2000, and we married a year after that. That was not a very long marriage. Of course, we separated a year later because, believe it or not, relationships based on drugs don't tend to work out. I mean, I'm sure there's stories out there because there's always an exception to the rule. So don't ever think I'm saying that can't work out, because I've seen cases where people have gotten into relationships doing drugs and then got sober together and have had a lifetime of happiness. So I'm not saying it can't happen. It's just not, it's not the rule. It's the exception. So, so I would love to go in. I'm just going to say that my drug of choice, because I don't know how YouTube will feel about these things. So I'm not going to go into the actual details. I will just say that it starts with a C. Well, it's 2 words and it starts with a C and an M. So we're just going to leave it at that. So let's not put it in chat. Don't do that. Everybody knows what it is at this point. But I had a 20-year relationship with that drug. 20 years. Yeah. It was a long relationship. It was the longest relationship I've ever had in my life. Not a successful one, but so we got married when I was 25, and like I said, we separated a year later. We didn't get divorced though. We just never got to that step. We just kind of stayed separated. But the thing is that we had known each other since 2nd grade. So we remained, after we got over the initial shock and being mad at each other for the marriage not working out, because it was abusive. It was abusive on both sides, not just him, but me as well. That's literally the only way we knew how to live life, was just being abusive and on drugs, which isn't healthy for anybody. So we remained friends once we got over the initial shock. And actually, to this day, we are best friends. I know that I can call him if I ever need anything, or if I need somebody to talk to, and he knows he can call me if he ever needs anything and he needs somebody to talk to, because that is just how we are. We have a son together. There was no reason to fight. Our problem was the fact that we were married we were in a relationship and married, and we shouldn't have been. So once that was ended, there was no reason to fight anymore. We had a son together and we needed to stay friends. So we have, and we've remained friends all these years. In the meantime, over the years, obviously there was a bigger breakdown of my family dynamics. I'm not going to go into the issues with my mother very much, and I'm going to tell you why. Because those are her issues and not mine. I'm just here to talk about my personal issues. I can tell you my feelings about some things, but as far as who she is, I'm not here to take anybody's inventory but my own. So, oh, thank you so much. That just please know that means a lot to me. It really does. It means so much to me to have anybody say that to me. Because years ago, when the time frame I'm talking about right now, you wouldn't have had the same opinion. I promise you wouldn't have. I mean, nobody could have. I didn't have that opinion myself. Obviously, I lived my whole life up until I was 40 with just no self-esteem, none whatsoever. I thought my self-esteem came from a man. If I could get a man to love me, then I was worthwhile. If I couldn't get a man to love me, then I was just not worth anything. And that's just how I lived, because that's what I knew. Now, where did I learn this? Obviously, my mother is, and she is admittedly. So this is not something I'm judging her on. This is something that she has struggled with and she has openly admitted. And me and her have talked about this in the past, but she was codependent, male dependent. And so that's where I learned that from. I think that's the case with a lot of moms from that era. And do I blame her for that? No, because I think, as angry as I am with a lot of things that happened with my mother, I think my mother did the best she could with what she had to work with at the time. I don't think she ever maliciously tried to do anything bad as a mom when I was a kid. I think she just did the best she could, which I understand now as a mom. So our family dynamics just broke down all over the place. I didn't agree with them. They didn't agree with me. They didn't like what I was doing, rightly so. After my son's dad and I split up, I ended up meeting another man, and he ended up being my second husband. But at the time, we were just dating, and this was no better of a relationship. It really wasn't. I basically was going from the frying pan to the fire to the frying pan, back and forth. It was just, I was a hot mess, guys. And again, just getting deeper and deeper into my addiction all the while. People have asked me, did you do any other kind of drugs? I really didn't. I've never been a drinker. Never have been my whole life. It was never my thing, never my bag. Was never interested in it. Have I drank a few times? Yes. Did I drink on my 21st? Oh yeah. Do I remember all of my 21st? No. I remember what people have told me. But that's like really the extent of my like drinking history. I really was never a drinker, still am not. It was just the one drug that I was interested in, and that's where I threw all my attention into. I lived a harder life than I needed to. I did a lot of damage to myself. I talked a little bit about this yesterday. I was saying how I don't prepare for things because I can't remember things very long, and that's got a lot to do with the damage I've done to my brain with the drug use over the years. So I have a lot of consequences that come from my decisions over time. There's things in my brain that will probably never heal completely, especially, listen, you guys, I'm pushing 50. Let's be real. Let's be realistic. I don't like living in la la land here. Realistically, I'm pushing 50. The ability of my brain to come back full 100% good at this point, it's not going to happen. Is my brain probably better than it, it's better than it was 8 years ago, but there's not going to be any taking me back to when I was 20 something. So, but I do the best I can with what I have, and I make adjustments accordingly. Like I said, I don't prepare for things ahead of time because I know I'll forget. I will wait right until the last minute, and I will go through everything I need to go through because at least it's fresh in my memory and I don't forget it. So yeah, I've got a lot of residual effects over the years, but yeah, Kat, I just happened to glance over and see you're right. It doesn't. It really doesn't. That's something that's another thing I'm dealing with. I'll get into that. But anyway, so my second husband and I, we were together for quite a few years. I was with him when I lost my kids. My daughter had gone. I actually voluntarily signed my daughter over to my parents when she was younger, because when I moved out of the house and moved in with my son's dad, my first husband, my daughter's dad's parents had threatened to take me to court and take her away from me, and I didn't want that to happen. So being young and dumb, I voluntarily turned custody of my daughter over my parents because I knew that they would never be able to fight them in court, but they probably would be able to fight me. So I did that, trusting that was something that I would get back. But yeah, that didn't happen. There was no intent to ever give her back. And that's, like I said, I'm not going to get into that. Just know that I had planned on just hiding custody with them temporarily. They had other plans, just I didn't know it at the time. So my daughter had been with my parents, but in my life as well for many years. But my son that my mother actually called the county and turned me in for the drug use and whatnot, which again, I completely understand. There's a lot of ways that it was done that it shouldn't have been done, but be that as it may, it was inevitable. So I lost custody of my son. So I had a choice. My choice was either A, I could turn custody over voluntarily, or they could terminate my parental rights. Here's what the difference is. I don't know what it is from state to state. I know that in Minnesota, the rule is if they terminate your parental rights, you can never, ever, ever have custody of a child ever again, ever, no matter who that child is, doesn't matter. But if you voluntarily surrender your rights, turn them over, then you have the option to go back and get custody of that child back again later on when your situation has changed. And you can have custody of a child again other than that child as well. So, so my son was taken from me, and that's kind of where, I'm trying to find words to use here. I'm not trying to figure out what to say. I'm trying to figure out words I can use on YouTube that aren't going to get this whole thing shut down. I had thoughts of no longer being around. Let's do that. Let's go with that. Yeah. So that was where the thoughts started, was that. And then I ended up getting, I got arrested, charged with first-degree manufacturing. And it was a setup by somebody else on their part. Now, was I guilty of it? Yes. Was I guilty of it that one time specifically? No, that one time I actually was set up by somebody else, and the judge could see that. So what I ended up getting convicted of was possession of precursors with the intent to manufacture, which is a much lighter sentence. However, I did spend 2 months in jail, and put us in the hole about $3,000 just to bail me out. And it didn't last long. I pretty much got out of jail, got over that court case, and went right back to what I was doing. It didn't do anything to help me at all. So during that court case, my mother, this is something I'm going to bring up because it had a lot to do with my spiral out of, into just further, just spiraling further afterwards. My mother was writing letters to the judge unbeknownst to me, begging him to keep me in jail for my own safety. Yeah. Even though at the time, and listen, I'm not going to try to, it's semantics. I'm not going to go and try to split hairs here. No, I wasn't guilty of this one thing. So she had no right. In my mind, I was like, you have no right to do that because I literally am not guilty of this one thing this time. Was I guilty of it though in general? Yes. Just not that one time. But she didn't know that. I was very upset because she had no right to go and try to undermine me. But she did. And again, I'm going to assume for the rest of my life, just for my own sanity, that she had the best intentions and behind those actions. It doesn't matter to me anymore whether she did or not, because it's neither here nor there now. But that had a lot to do with my spiral right after that, as to not wanting to be around anymore and taking actual measures to ensure that happened. Which is where the cats came in. This is where the cats come in, guys. I started getting a couple cats. It started with Shalene, like you guys know. She was one of my first, because the neighbor's cat had kittens and she had one kitten left and they hadn't found a home for it and she needed to find a home for it. So I took Feline, and that's where my journey with the cats started, was with Feline. And after I had gotten like 4 or 5 cats, and mind you, I was still with my second husband at the time, I realized that I needed to be around because nobody else would take care of them besides me. Now, did I subconsciously get those cats as a way to give myself a reason to stick around? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. I've had psychiatrists tell me that maybe the cats were my desperate attempt to cling to life when I no longer wanted to. Which, I mean, I choose to say, that's entirely possible. I believe that, and I can see that being a thing, because why else would somebody just go, well, I'm an addict, so yeah, maybe. So the cat started there. Now, I did end up going back to court because I did end up getting sober for a while. I worked really hard at it, actually, and we bought a house. It was a trailer house, but it was ours nonetheless. So we lived in a trailer park. So yeah, I'm that person. So I took matter back to court. So in Minnesota, you also have to wait 1 year for family court when it has to do with kids, whether it's custody or visitation or child support, whatever it is. There has to be a year in between each court case. There has to be. That's just the rule. So I had to wait a year. I waited the year and I filed the paperwork to take the matter back to court. And I won. I won in court and got joint custody back of my son. The reason I got joint custody is because it's very hard to find a judge that wants to remove a child from the home that it knows. And at that point, my son had lived, like his main residence had been my mom and dad's house all those years. And the judge was not willing to just yank him out of the only house he'd known in the only school district he'd known, from all the friends that he'd known, to place him somewhere else, which I understood and I agreed with. So his solution was to give me joint custody, and therefore it would not impede on his ability to stay in the school district he was in with the friends that he had, which is where it was very important to me. But I won. Not only did I win, when the judge took my son from me the first time, what he said to me at the end of the court proceedings was, he said something to the effect of, and don't quote me, but something to the effect of, I regret to have these emotions, but I do not feel that reunification between this mother and either of her children should ever happen. Those were his words. And a couple years later, we went back to court in front of the same judge. And that judge went back on his own ruling, went back on his own opinion, and handed me back my son. So I worked really, really hard. So that was my first genuine stint with sobriety. Had I been sober here and there, little pieces just to appease the courts or something? Yes. But that was my actual real attempt at it. And I was sober for about a year and a half. And then I went right back to my old ways. Unfortunately, when that happened and my son could see what was happening, him and my daughter both decided they weren't going to talk to me anymore. That was their choice. This was not the court. This was not CPS. This was not my mother. This was my kids. My kids saw me going down the same road again and wanted nothing to do with it, which, let me just tell you, as much as it hurt me that my kids made that decision, not somebody else, I respect my kids so much, and I am so damn proud of them for making that tough choice and walking away from their mother, which couldn't have been easy, had to have been so traumatizing for them. But they made that choice because it was best for them. And that I couldn't be more proud of my kids than I was right then. Even though it was hard, even though I was upset, even though it hurt me, as a mom, I have to look back at that and say that is the most proud I've ever been of my kids. They made a tough choice, and they made a good choice and a responsible choice when I was obviously not capable of making good ones. So kudos to my kids for being wonderful kids. And like I said, I've told you guys a million times that I'm very proud of my kids. And that's why, just so you guys see, that's why I'm very proud of my kids. My kids are very responsible. They're smart. They're very good kids. They're very well-educated kids. And as much as my son is a little jokester and a little smarty pants, my kids are wonderful. They really are. And they've worked very hard in their life to be better than me, which is what I've always wanted. I think every parent wants their kids to turn out better than them. And I can honestly say that my kids have turned out a million times better than me. And I couldn't be happier about that, because I never want to see my kids go down any road I've ever been down. Dear Todd, what are you doing? So it was very heartbreaking. It was incredibly heartbreaking. There's no words that anyone could ever string together in the English language or any other language that could effectively convey how heartbreaking that is when your kids make the decision that you are not in a good place and they can't be around you. So when they made that choice, you'd think, and this is where I'm gonna go on a soapbox rant here real quick. For people that look at people in addiction and go, but you have kids. Can't you do it for your kids? If you can't do it for your kids, you must not love your kids. Listen to me. Listen to me. I love my children with all my heart and soul. Always have, always will. The problem was not whether I loved my kids. The problem was I didn't love myself. That is the problem, people. So please, 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 please. And when I hear people look at somebody and say, you must not love your kids, how can you call yourself a parent? Listen, it's got nothing to do with the love for your kids. It's got to do with you don't love yourself enough to pick yourself up out of that hole. So when you say that to people and you shame people that way, it really doesn't help. So just do me a favor, you guys. If you guys ever find yourself faced with somebody who has kids and they're in the depths of addiction, do me a favor, don't ever use those kids as a way to try to get them to see the light, because that's really going to hurt them more than it's going to do anything else. Because I didn't love myself. I loved my kids, but I didn't love myself. And when they walked away from me, in my mind, that just solidified that I was worthless. Even my kids knew it. And for the two people that I loved more than anything else in the whole world to think that of me, thank God I had the cats. And I don't mean that like, thank God I had the cats, because my kids made a good choice, and I will never, ever fault them for that. I will always praise them for that. I will always be proud of them for making that choice. But the cats, because I knew with how many I had, nobody else was going to step in and take care of them, and they would all die. They would all be put in shelters and probably have all died if I was ever to leave. Your kids help save your life. They did. They saved my life in more ways than you can ever imagine. Which is why when somebody goes, why do you have so many cats? Well, because you know what? I sucked as a person at one point. I did. Well, let's just be real. Like I've told you before, I don't mix the words. I don't beat around the bush. I sucked as a human being for a long time. I really did. In many ways, our pets say no, they do. They really do, guys. And I want to make sure everybody understands that, I was not always capable of making good choices. I still question my ability to make choices in life. Because I spent so long making bad choices, I now sit here and I second guess everything I do because I'm like, I just think to myself, is this a good choice or am I just making a dumb choice again? This is where, like we were talking about the Walmart thing, the impulse control. This is completely 100% directly related to that. So when I tell you guys that I have saved, and this is going to sound so stupid, this is such a dumb thing, but when I preach to you guys about the HelloFresh thing and how much it has literally saved me, let me tell you something. I have bad impulse control because I am an addict. I will always be an addict first and foremost. And I have to remember that because the minute I forget that and think I've overcome it, yes, I'm in recovery, but have I overcome it? No, it is a forever thing. This is a forever disease. This is not something that will ever go away in me. If I ever forget that, that's when those things can sneak up behind me when I'm not paying attention and can take me down. So when I say I will always be an addict, I'm not trying to be self-deprecating. I'm not trying to be hard on myself. I am being real. I am being very real. No matter how long I've been sober, I will always be an addict, always. And I have to remember that. I can't forget that. I have to respect the strength of that. So please don't ever think that I'm like putting myself down in any way. I don't say those things. I know a lot of people go, oh, don't be so hard on yourself. Look at how far you've come. Yes, I've come a long way. But will I ever outrun it? No. I will never outrun it, but I always will be mindful of it. So there's that. So now comes to my second arrest. This one was more Hollywood, if you will. So obviously you can tell by my first set of charges and convictions, the first degree manufacturing charge, you can about imagine where things had progressed to in my life. And I was actually, my house was raided. Actually, it was January 28th of 2016. That's a day that I will never forget as long as I live. The police pretty much broke down my door, came in guns blazing and everything, and seized my house and took me into custody. And they charged me with first degree sales. Yeah. Of a controlled substance. So that's what I got charged with. And I was arrested and I was thrown into jail. And of course, because of the wonderful people I had around me at the time, it was terrifying. It was terrifying. I will say that I was lucky in one sense. Where I lived was a small town and everybody knows everybody, including the police force and everything. I had become very, very acquainted with the police force, obviously, because, I needed to know who they were because I needed to know where they were and what they were doing at all times to try to stay a step ahead of them. Whatever. That's a delusion we all live in when we're in active addiction. Why anybody that's an addict thinks that they're smarter than the cops is beyond me. I mean, I always knew. I was always the one that had at least a semi-good head on my shoulders. I always had a house. I always had the bills paid. I always had whatever. I was always responsible because I took care of everyone else around me. Oh, Carrie. Oh, my God, I'm going to cry. So just so you guys know, Carrie here is a very good friend of mine, and I've known her for many, many years. And this woman has been an absolute cheerleader in my corner. This woman has never said a bad word about me. She helped me finance my first car. And I'm so proud to have her in here and have her listening to this right now. Thank you, Carrie, for jumping in here. It means so much to me. Sorry, guys. That one just hit me to see Carrie's name pop up. I love you so much, Gerri. Thank you for everything you've always done for me. Like I said, this woman, no matter what, she's known me in the thrall of addiction until now. And even when I was making the dumbest ass decisions, I can tell you this woman behind my back or to my face has never once said a bad thing about me. Not once. No matter what anybody else has said or what anybody else has done, she has had my back and she has been in my corner. And she has always said, Kim's a good person. Kim's a good person. And she's told me that. And she's told other people that even when I wasn't standing there, to hear it. So thank you, Gerri. And Dave's the same way. Dave's always been a cheerleader in my corner too. So, oh, so yeah, that just kind of struck me. So sorry, guys. That was one of those things that just kind of hit me when I saw her name pop up. I was just like, wow. Wouldn't miss it. Chin up, babe. Love you. Listen, girl, chin up forever. And you're the one that taught me that, and I love you for that. Thank you. So, anyway, back to what we were talking about. So I unfortunately knew the entire police force, and I knew the head of the drug task force. So when they raided my house, obviously these were people I knew around town. These people were familiar with me for good reasons and bad reasons. So they were very polite. They were very nice. They were very respectful. I will say that. I just want to go on record as saying that the sheriff's department and the drug task force were a bunch of people that I was very familiar with. They were so genuinely concerned. And actually, the head of the drug task force looked at me in the car afterwards and he said, "Kim, you gave us no choice." I said, I know I did. Because they were like, we've tried to leave you alone. We've tried to just hope that you'll just figure things out on your own, but you really gave us no choice in the end. And I was like, you know what, I get it. And that's fine. And I understand. And the eyelash glue is waterproof. Don't worry. So as much as it was terrifying to have these guys come barreling in my house in the morning and they've got all these guns and everything, I was just like, I knew nobody was getting shot because, like I said, I knew these guys. They had to follow their protocol and the way they do things, and I get that, and I respect all of them to this day. When I do go back to Minnesota and I end up in that area, I do stop by and I do say hi to the guys that are still in the police force and whatnot, because I always will remain grateful to them. And I'll explain that why in a second. Kim, you're blessed to have such loving friends. I do. You know what? I don't have a big circle of friends, but the friends that I do have are amazing. They are amazing. And I don't know where I would be without them. So shout out to all my friends. Yeah. Look how pretty you look today. Oh, thank you, Gerri. That means so much to me. Thank you so much. You guys are so sweet and so nice. You guys just make me just smile so much. I love it. But yeah, so they came in, and addiction is a terrible disease. It is a terrible disease. It really is. And I'm glad that they finally recognize it as a disease and not just a choice, because listen, this was not a choice I made. I did not choose to be one of those people. I've seen people try drugs and be able to just walk away, and it doesn't matter to them. But then there's other people like me who, the minute you get introduced to it, it's like its claws are in you and there's no getting away from it. So that leads me into why I'm grateful to the police force, because I was literally wound up in that situation so deep and so far with people that were so scary, quite honestly, that the only way I was getting out was that way. They did for me what I couldn't do for myself. They got me out. So when they took me to jail, obviously there was nobody to bail me out, because who's going to bail me out? A bunch of addicts? Right. No, they didn't bail me out. I had to make a series of calls, and luckily I had acquired an RV at the time. So I sold the RV to somebody else and took that money and bailed myself out. And I booked it out of town for a little while and just kind of laid low, stayed sober, stayed clean, stayed away from everything. And I waived my right to a speedy trial because I needed time to go through the treatment process and to get my things together, because when you go to court for your charges, you want to be able to walk in there and be as changed of a person as possible, so that the judge will take that into consideration. So what I did was I spent that following year after being raided, and I gained employment, which was my first job doing inventory. And I got a house, I got my license back, and I got my shit together. Because when the prosecution came to me with their deal, the plea deal, as a rule of thumb, now there's people that have been able to like change their mind and get a better deal later on, but as a rule of thumb, when you get a plea deal offered to you, the first thing they offer you is usually going to be the best thing you're going to get. They offered me, if I pled guilty to second-degree sales, they would give me 58 months in prison. And I had no choice but to take that offer. So I took that offer, and now it was 2 weeks between that plea deal and the sentencing hearing. That was the longest 2 weeks of my life because as it sat, I mean, I knew that when we went to the sentencing hearing, I was going to be asking them for a downward departure. And what that is you're asking the judge to take extenuating circumstances into consideration and departing from what the suggested sentence be. But there has to be, the judge has got to be able to back up his decision. So if he's going to depart, so because right then, my charges with the points I had on my history, because of the first charge being so high, was a mandatory prison commit. There was no probation offer. There was no nothing. It was a mandatory prison commit. Unfortunately, in Minnesota, there's only one women's prison, and it's a federal prison. You can imagine how fun that would have been. So I busted my ass for a year, took that plea deal, and then for 2 weeks I sat on pins and needles, knowing that when I went to sentencing, it was very likely that I would be walking out of sentencing in cuffs, heading straight to the women's facility in Minnesota, and that's where I would sit for the next 4 years. I was terrified, very terrified. But I went to court for sentencing, and when I got in there and we had presented everything I had accomplished in that year, Ken, you know what? I'm just going to tell you, for men, that's true. For women, no, it's not. It's a federal max security prison. It's just max. That's all it is. It's 23 in the cell and 1 hour out a day. And it's not a nice place. It's terrifying. So yeah. God, Leavenworth, my God. God bless him. Women don't have as many options as men is what I'm saying when it comes to prisons. So be that as it may. So I went to sentencing. We had presented the judge with everything I had done over that course of that year, everything I had accomplished and whatever else. And luckily the judge that was in that county at the time, listen, I will forever say this about this judge. This judge was a fair man. If he gave you a sentence, believe me, it was fair. Whether you liked it or not, it was fair. He never, ever did that cookie cutter. Oh, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. No, he took every situation into consideration as that situation. He judged every situation on its own merits. He didn't just do that, just here's a rubber stamp thing. He was never that person. He was great. This should have been a 5-minute hearing. It was a half an hour hearing because the judge felt it necessary to sit there and read through everything I'd accomplished for that year. He said, I see here you've gained employment and this is what you do for a living and this is what you're doing. Said, I see here you gained your license back. He sat there and he went through every accomplishment that I had made during the course of that year. And he didn't have to, but he did because he was the kind of judge that felt if he was going to list off the things that you did wrong, then he was equally going to list off the things you did right. After listing all these things, so he kept me on a string here. And listen, I was standing there with my attorney, knees buckling. My attorney was literally had his arm around me because he was trying to hold me up because he knew that I was going to drop. I was going to faint from just, stress because my knees were buckling. When I heard the judge say, I'm granting a downward departure from the recommended sentence, staying all 58 months, let me tell you what, I felt myself, the blackness kind of started waving over me because I almost lost consciousness. I almost fainted in court, but I managed to hold it together, but tears just started running and I started sobbing. And he looked at me and he said, I'm going to assume that you're grateful for this ruling. And I was like, yes, Your Honor. And that man will never know, I don't think, what he did for me that day. He gave me so much credit and he made me feel so good about myself because he was somebody I obviously, I admired and respected because he's a judge. And that was very, very important in my life, was that one moment right there. And that was the beginning of my sobriety, was that first year. And my kids still weren't talking to me. My family still wasn't talking to me. So the hurdle I had now was that I had to try to continue sobriety on my own. On my own. I had literally no support. I had maybe 2 friends. I think I had 2 friends, but you know what? They had families and things of their own. They couldn't be sitting there holding my hand or doing all these things. I had to find in me a reason to go on. obviously, subsequently, before this happened, or after, yeah, right before this happened, me and my second husband had split up and gotten divorced. So that was no longer a thing. And that was also the start of me being single and me deciding that I was going to do this right, because I had never listened, obviously. And when you start recovery, you should always start recovery sober or single and do it for you. I could have used this person. I used my cats as a reason to stick around every day and not just check out. But I had to figure out a way to find self-esteem by myself. Let me tell you what. I can't tell you how to do it. People have asked me. I can't tell you how to do it because it's up to you. My journey is my journey. How I found the self-esteem in myself was just, I don't know. And I think this is where I have to thank my father for my stubbornness and my willpower, because I think that because I have so much stubbornness and so much willpower that was instilled in me from him, that there was no way I was giving up. There was no way. At that point, I was not going to give up. I wasn't willing to give up. I wasn't willing to let anybody be right. And I was not about to let my mother be right. Because I think she was sitting there waiting for me to fail. And I was not going to let her have it. No. You're a beautiful person inside and out. I admire you so much and grateful you had a judge who saw what a strong woman you are. Thank you so much, Cammie. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate that so much, because I mean, as you guys have heard, I was never a person that was looked up to. I was never a person that was admired or respected or a role model in any way, shape, or form. So to come from that, to be here now with all you guys and having people say things like that to me is such a beautiful thing. And it's so wonderful to hear. So thank you. It's fantastic to hear how you've turned your life around, Kim. Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I had to suffer. And when I say suffer, I suffered because here I didn't have my kids. I didn't have a family. I didn't have anything. I had to figure this all out on my own, and I did it. I managed it somehow. So I had to basically fight for my success by myself. Now, fast forward a couple years, and this part is gonna listen. Well, I've told you guys, it's no secret. There's no love lost between my mother and myself. Stepfather as well. Okay, so just when I say I'm not going to get into those things, because that's delving into an area that one of these people can't fight against because they've passed. So I'm not going to do that. And B, the other person, her story is not my story to tell. So I'm not going to get into all that, but just know that there's no love lost there. No. On my birthday in 2017, I was getting ready to go out with a friend, and my phone rings. I look down and I see it's my mother's cell phone. Nope. That phone number had not called my phone in many years. And so when I looked down and saw that, I was like, okay, this is not going to be a good call. It's my birthday, for God's sakes, please, really. So reluctantly, I answered the phone, and I hear my daughter sobbing to the point where I couldn't understand a word that was coming out of her mouth. Finally, I was able to make out the word grandpa. And I said, Jessa, you need to calm down. I need you to settle down. Take a deep breath, because I can't understand anything you're saying. Please. She said, Grandpa's gone. I said, do you need me to come down there? Now, mind you, I had not spoken to my daughter. My daughter had not spoken to me in 3 years at that point. But she was in pain. She was in tears. I said, do you need me to come down there? And she said, yes. And as she was saying yes, I was already headed out the door to my car, jumping in my car and making the 45-minute trip as fast as possible. God, I didn't care if I got pulled over right then. My children needed me, and that's where I was going to be. So again, on my birthday in 2017, I went flying down to my mother's house where my kids were, and found out that my daughter had found my stepdad passed away that morning. And she was the one that had to perform CPR and be on the phone and everything else. And she was so traumatized, but she was so happy to see me there and so happy to see me, because that was the first time my kids had seen me since all this stuff had happened and I had cleaned up. And so I got my kids back that day. Lost my stepdad, but again, we're just gonna gloss over that. But he gave me the best birthday present I could ever get, and that was my kids back. Because I went down there and I was there, and I had worked real hard to have a house and a job and my car and everything else. And I'd done this all on my own with no help from any of these people. But when my kids looked at me and said, Grandma doesn't know how to manage things, we're going to lose the house and we don't have anywhere to go, I said, no, you're not. And I got rid of everything I had. I mean, obviously, except for my car. I left everything I had, worked my butt off for it, and I moved back to my mother's house to take care of my kids and my mom and the house and make sure that they were all right. So that's where I was. And that's where I stayed until my kids both moved out of the house and made their own way in life. And of course, as soon as my kids were gone, there was no reason to get along with my mother anymore because that was a fake thing. I'm sorry, but it was a fake thing. I was only there being nice to her because my kids were there and I was taking care of them. And that's what my priority was. She's made her own choices in life and those don't mesh with me. It's a toxic relationship that's no good for either one of us. So, yeah, so she, what she did was she called and claimed that I had been abusive to her, which I had not. But because she is the angelic, sweet old lady, and I am the known recovering drug addict, obviously the courts just automatically decided with her and gave her a restraining order with nothing, no proof, no nothing, just because she's the saintly old grandmother and I'm in her house technically. Yeah. So the cops showed up one night and said, yeah, you have a half hour to get everything you can into your car and out of here because we have to serve this. Okay, cool, whatever. So I made the cops help me collect up 16 cats, put them all in my little 2010 Malibu. And I left there with literally a couple changes of clothes, my stuff for work, and my cats. And I lit up on out of there. And I ended up holed up in a hotel room for the following 6 months, homeless and scared to death that somebody was going to find out that I had 16 cats in that hotel room and they were going to take my cats from me. So I had to just do everything I could. So when my boss came to me and said, hey, Kim, we're opening a new office in Missouri and we want you to move down there and run it. Squatters' rights, I could have fought for that, Ken, but like I said, living with my mother was a nightmare and it was toxic and it would have led to nothing good. So as hard as that was, the situation under which I had to leave, it was fine. It was fine. And I was fine. So I lit up on out of there and I lived in that hotel for 6 months. And when my boss came to me and gave me this opportunity, I said, done. Luckily, I had spent the previous couple years fixing my credit so that it was a good enough credit score to be able to buy a house. So that's how I ended up in Missouri. It's intense. You know, it is. It was, and I've said this before, and it bears repeating. Some people will go through their life regretting, their past mistakes and the decisions they've made and blah, 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 whatever. My mistakes in life have taught me more than my successes have. It's just how it is. And do I wish that my life could have been, it's a tough question to ask because on one hand, yeah, great. I wish I could say my life has been rainbows and butterflies, but what experience would I have in life? What experience would I have to bring to anybody? Nothing. I'd be a silver spoon-fed baby on a trust fund baby or something like that. And that would not be, what would I know about life then? I really wouldn't know anything. Did it need to be as hard as it was? No. Do I regret my life? No. Even at your worst, your heart was always good. You were never the devil or bad. You know how I feel about drug use. Very few using would I ever give my respect or trust. I have never questioned with you. Carrie, you are just... Thank you, honey. One thing I've always said, and people people don't understand this. You know, even in my worst days of drug use, I've never been a liar, a cheat, or a thief. Those are things I just don't believe in. I'm not that person. I won't ever be that person. And people are like, how can you be an honest drug dealer? How can you not be an honest drug addict? Blah, 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 blah. Listen, being a drug addict was bad enough. I didn't feel like I needed to make it worse by being any of those things either. So the fact that Carrie just said that, just thank you, Carrie, so much, because you are so somebody that I respect and look up to and idolize, and I always have. So for you to say that to me means so much. Yeah, you came to doing malicious, so don't be so hard on yourself. You're doing great. Thank you for so much. And you're right, I didn't do anything malicious. And they say that, because let's be real here. I mean, I should be obvious by now. I was a drug dealer. You know, they say that's a victimless crime. It's not. It's not a victimless crime. There were people out there that, you know, that I helped in their addiction. And yes, they're grown-ups, and yes, they can make that choice, but I still have to live with the fact that I assisted them in that. I've had to do a lot of work to forgive myself and let myself off the hook for things. But believe me, I have let myself off the hook for these things. I'm not a big believer in saying I'm sorry, because you can say that all day long. You know what? Somebody can tell me they love me, but if they're punching me in the face while they're saying it, I'm not going to believe them. So I really firmly believe that actions are way more powerful than words. So I've forgiven myself because I've made the changes. I'm no longer that person. I no longer do those things or believe in those things or have anything to do with it. I'm so very proud of you. You deserve that judge to read it, all you had done that year, and it mattered and made such a difference. It really did. It really did. Let me tell you, there's so many small things that have happened. And you're absolutely right. That judge, like I said, I will always respect this judge because he was an awesome judge. I mean, every judge should be as good as this guy. He was so fair. He was not like the typical by the book. Like I said, no rubber stamps in his courtroom. It was every situation that came in front of him was its own situation, and he took that whole situation as an individual thing. He didn't just go, oh, well, everybody else that did this is what I gave them, so this is what you're going to get. No, he took every one of them on a case-by-case basis, and he was awesome. So believe me, if you walked into his courtroom and you got the book thrown at you, it's because you deserved it. Surround yourself with people that believe in you and want the best for you. Sometimes it's not family. I also believe that family doesn't always mean blood, and blood doesn't always mean family. From zero support to this entire family, look what you've built. You know what? I would love to take credit for that, Gerri, but this is you guys. You guys have built this. You guys have so built this, and you guys have made a choice. You guys have so many options on the internet and on YouTube of people to watch and people to follow and people to support. So the fact that each one of you guys have made a conscious choice to spend time with me here and to support me it's all you guys. And I'm so grateful for all of you guys for that. You'll never understand how incredibly just moved I am by every one of you guys being here. But yeah, so that's how I end up getting sober, was getting raided, because they knew that there was nothing I could do to get out of it. And I've gone back and said thank you many times to them. In fact, one of my girlfriends, her father-in-law is a retired police officer from that town, and I still talk to him, and he's a wonderful man. And I always tell him, hey, pass on a message for me to the guys over there when you see them. Let them know how I'm doing. And yeah, so they're just, I have remained grateful to the people that most people wouldn't remain grateful for. You know, they just do their job, and they did a good job. And because I know that they know me and they knew me then, I knew they were trying so hard to they were trying to wait. They were actually going against what they should have been doing and trying to they were hoping beyond all hope that I would pull myself out, because they did like me and they do like me. And and so when the look on his face when he looked at me, he said, I'm sorry, Kim, but you gave us no choice. I was like, oh my God, you're actually hurt over this. It meant so much to me. So that's how I got sober. And in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened in my past, the decisions I made, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. We saw your beauty and worth immediately. Wish you had, sweetie. Oh, you know what? That's so nice of you. Thank you so much. That means so much. You guys are so sweet. You guys are just, oh, all the feels. I forgot about this live stream, but I just wanted to add that Kim is an amazing speaker and she adds so much to our presentations and all groups. She's becoming an amazing advocate. Thank you, Wanda. I'm so glad that you came in here and that you got me involved in that stuff because it really is just a big piece of my heart. From drug dealer to presenting at UC Davis, now that's an accomplishment. Wanda, I love you guys so much. Oh my God, I love all of you guys so much.
We're doing it. We're
yes,
doing
we
it.
are.
We're doing it.
Oh my God. So here's the thing. I don't know if I hit everything. I don't need to hit everything. And that's the point of doing your story, is making sure that you just get where you were, what happened along the way, how it changed for you, and where you are now. And I think we touched on all that. You know, I haven't always been a good person. In my heart, yes, but in my actions and behaviors, no. I've made very bad choices. I've made very, very bad choices. Choices that if my kids made those choices, I would be devastated. So, yeah, you're such a strong woman. Oh my God, thank you so much. People always say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I'm always like, how much stronger do you want me to be, life? I think I'm good enough now. You can leave me alone. Just move on to somebody else. Leave me alone. But yeah, so I'm okay, John, is it your 25th birthday today or is it your 35th birthday today? Which one is it? Come on. But yeah, so it's been a road. It's been one hell of a ride. And again, I don't want to say that I regret anything in my life because I've got so much knowledge behind me because of what I've been through and so much life experience that some people go through their whole life without this kind of experience, without this kind of knowledge, without this kind of wisdom. And I am blessed to have so much of that. This is why we walk forward and not back. The past is not who you are now, hon. You know, and you're right. My past has made me who I am, but it's not who I am. If that makes any sense to anybody. I mean, that's kind of a double negative there, but it's really not. It really did form who I am. And here's the thing. I am happy with who I am today. I am proud of who I am today. I am proud of where I've ended up. I am proud of what I've accomplished. I'm proud of what I have because, and again, telling my story keeps me in check and reminds me of where I came from. And right, I mean, during this whole the whole thing, I've kind of had that epiphany again. It's like, wow, dude, I forgot how low I actually started out. I started out really in not only ground level, I was in the basement, and somehow, man, I've gotten to here. It takes a lot of strength and courage to tell us all this, Kim. You could have easily left parts out, but you haven't. There's no reason to leave parts out, Mark. There's just not. Anybody that, if you're going to tell your story, make it worth it. Don't lie. Don't leave things out, because me and Wanda have talked about this, and we both agree. Sometimes your greatest tool in life is your story. The best thing you could ever do for somebody else is tell your story. Because Lord knows there's somebody out there that's going through it or knows somebody that's going through it. And something you have to say might be the thing that, that puts them on the right path. Kim, let's separate actions from the person. You may have done some bad things, but that doesn't make you a bad person. No, you're right. You're right, Wanda. It doesn't. I've never been. That's why I kind of corrected myself there. I kind of walked it back a little bit. I walked it back. My heart has always been good. My heart's always been good. Like Gerri said, a little while ago, I was never that person. I was never the liar, the cheater, or the thief. I was never that person because it's just not who I am in my core. Did I make bad decisions that were destructive to me and people around? Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Everything you went through has brought you to this place in life, and there's no stopping you, Kim. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm there's no stopping me. No. Like I said, I'm very proud of who I am. Am I perfect? God, no. No. I'm far from perfect. Do I ever want to be perfect? No. You know why? That's a lot of responsibility. And we weren't created to be perfect. We were just created to be and to do our best. And yeah, I I don't want to be perfect. I just want to be good. And I just want to be able to look at myself in the mirror every night and say, I did a good job today. I'm a good person and I did the best with what I have. And I left the world a little bit better than I found it when I woke up this morning. So too much work to be perfect. Yeah. Yes, stories are powerful and healing, both for the person telling the story and the person's hearing it. Yes, that's exactly right. Like I said, going into this, all I could think in my head was, I just hope that there's one person out here that hears a story that gets something out of it. Whatever it is. I don't care what you get out of it. If it's not about recovery, if it's about perseverance, if it's about coming out on top on the other side, or if it's about hope, or if it's about addiction or whatever, I don't care. If somebody gets something out of this, then I'm happy to do this. All that matters is where you're going, not where you've been. You've risen above. You know, and I agree with that to an extent, but we all have to remember the old saying, those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. So it is important where we are, and we do need to look forward, but we have to remember where we've been. We have to. Kat, I know you got to get going soon. Thank you for hanging out with us. I'm so glad you were here, hon. Thank you very, very much. Like I said, you guys have a choice as to how to spend your time every day, and you only get so much time in a day. And the fact that you guys spend some of it with me is something that is no short of just amazing to me, and I'm so grateful for that. So yeah. Anyways, hi, Jenna.
Hi, Kim. Thank you for addressing me, because I just wanted to say thank you so much, for sharing your story. Of course, we're friends, not just on the stream. So I've heard, bits and pieces, but never really the whole story. That was very, enlightening. And you're brave. You're a brave woman.
Thank you.
Yes, I love you,
Thank you for
Kim.
being here with me, Jenna. I love you too, honey. I do. I love you so much. And I'm so proud to call you my friend. I'm so proud to have you here. I'm so proud to have all these people here in my community and going through this with us and following us and making everything what it is. You guys have just been amazing.
Yeah, I don't think I'm the only channel member that, welled up with tears during this stream. I'm sure several of the people in the chat also are a little bit teary-eyed with me.
Well, you know what? I mean, my intention was not to make anybody cry, but you know what? If you cried along with me, thank you so much for that, because that just shows that you're empathetic and that you're a human being and you care about other humans. And thank you for feeling that with me, because that means a lot to me. It's very overwhelming to me.
And Kim, it's a very inspirational story. It's very inspirational. So it's not just tears of sadness, it's tears of, pride or happiness at what you're doing. And it's heartwarming. That's where the tears come from, I think, from a lot of us, I would guess.
Well, thank you. That means so much to me. Yeah. So again, I just want to give a huge shout out to Judy Hansen. If she's watching this now, or if she watches this in the future, please know, lady, that you have been a driving force in my life, and the fact that you have never left my side since I was 16 years old, no matter what. And believed in me and loved me and just looked at me like I was a worthwhile human being every step of the way, no matter what I was doing. It has meant the world to me. So thank you, Judy. I love you with all my heart. Thank you. Really, I do. And of course, I can't say enough about, friends that have jumped in here, Carrie, Dave. There's been a few friends along the way that have literally been my friend for decades. And they have been there no matter what. And there were times when they didn't need to be, but they have been. And so I'm so grateful for them. So grateful for them. I am so grateful for every one of these furry little critters that run around my house, my little family here. So just so you guys understand, like I said, they saved me. They literally saved me when there was no one around to save me. Not even me, because I didn't care about myself. I cared about them, but I didn't care about myself. So they saved me. So when somebody asks me, but why do you have so many? Because I owe it to them. My life, I have life. I am breathing. I am walking and talking and getting up every morning because of them. I owe that back to them. I will care for them until the day they pass, and I will make sure that every day of their life is the best day it could possibly be, no matter what I have to suffer through. That's just how it is. So people can judge me for having a lot of cats all they want to, and it really matters none to me, because I know what I'm doing. I know that I am doing my best for them, and I know that I owe them that debt of gratitude, and I will pay it back tenfold every single day. So yeah, that's that's how this whole story winds up being about them. They're the reason why you guys even know who I am right now. Because I could have been just a forgotten soul in history that lost the battle to addiction, just like so many others. Instead, I am sitting here having overcome everything because of them. So my whole life is devoted to them now. Yeah. Every day I get paid with kisses, purrs, and rubs. They're what makes us happy, Kim. I get it too. Mine keep me sane. They are such a healing thing. They are such great medicine. They have really just
Cass.
One of these days he's gonna be in here and he's gonna actually be backstage and he's gonna say that to me in person, and I'm gonna laugh so hysterically it's gonna be funny.
Oh, hey, cats.
The human animal bond is powerful, would be dead if it didn't have my animals. Exactly. You know? And people, and this is where the crazy cat lady thing comes in. People are like, you crazy cat lady. You know what? Okay. All day long, maybe you can call me that all you want to, and I don't care, because you know what? They saved me when none of the humans in my life did. They have 4 legs so they can walk beside you on your journey of love. I love that. That is adorable. That's a very precious statement. I like that. Thank you for that, Gertrude. So, just so you guys know, you are welcome to ask questions at any time. Doesn't have to be now. If you think of one later and you want to ask it later on, please know that you can ask any question. I will never be upset, because my thing is I would rather someone ask me a question that they think might be a little inappropriate than to just assume something and spread rumors. That I'm not okay with. But you can always, anybody can ask me any question. How old is Feline? I think that's how you spelled it. Feline is Faline. It is actually, I got the name because if anybody watched Bambi and remembers anything after the mom, spoiler alert, sorry guys, after the mom gets shot, afterwards they show Bambi as he grows older, and he has a girlfriend at the end, and her name is Feline. And that's where I got the name. But well, Feline actually turns, oh God, 15. Yeah, she was born in 2009, April of 2009. So she turns 15 in April. So yeah. And she's laying in the couch right now, the little couch right here. I can't point. I'm so bad at this pointing thing when it's behind me. But yeah, so she's laying in the couch right now. But yeah, she's my oldest one, and she's 15. And then the youngest one in the house is Chewy, and he is like approximately 9 months old. So yeah, we got a lot of years. So I don't know. That's my story, guys. I'm sure there's things that I've forgotten over time, and you know what? If I've forgotten them, they can't be that important. And the gist is there. So I hope this was something that you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys got something out of it. I did this mainly for me, because like I said, you can't keep something if you don't give it away. And when it comes to my sobriety, that's something I'd like to keep. And therefore I have to tell my story to give it away to somebody else. It helps somebody else. That helps me. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the time here. Yay. Anyways, so I've been going on for a little over, going on an hour and a half now. And oh, we love you, Kim. You're perfect. Thank you so much, Cammie. That's so sweet of you to say. Thank you. Kim, you cool to hang with. Thanks, Ken. Ken, I was going to tell you, maybe one of these days when I finally get my system and my setup here all fully done, maybe one of these days we can get onto a multiplayer game together, and we can maybe Phasmophobia. I'm dying to find somebody to play that with. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. I think that's enough for me. I need to go just take a little breather for myself, and yeah, that'd be cool. Oh God, if you'll play Phasmophobia with me, Ken, that's great. I would love it. That'd be phenomenal, because I got nobody to play that with, and I don't want to play by myself. Get you in some Warzone. Maybe we'll work up to that. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. If anything else, if you run into somebody that you're dealing with in your life, I know Gerri, you play World of Warcraft. That's awesome. Yes, the ghost finding game. But if you find somebody in your life that's suffering from addiction, just do me a favor. Just take care of yourself. Take care of yourself first, because people are not going to get sober until they're ready. They're not. And you can try to force it all you want to. You can try to judge them all you want to. You can try to shame them all you want to. And really, that's just going to force them into a spiral. And so just take care of you and let them know that you're there for them when they decide they want you there. But don't let them take advantage of you. Don't let them take advantage of you. Don't give them or enable them, because you're just feeding into an addiction that could eventually kill them. And you don't want nothing to do with that. So just be mindful. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. So with that lovely little thought, thank you guys so much for being here and watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.